So I think it's really important when you look at what's happening around the world and go back to first principles of what's happening in computer science and computing. Three things that's happening. The first thing is that we all know that Moore's law has run its course, and the ability, demand for computing versus the amount of computation we can get out of general purpose computing is really challenging.
Jensen Huang, he continues to shuttle between Washington and Beijing, trying to navigate an impossible geopolitical hand.
Nvidia has been banned from going to China, not to mention China has banned Nvidia going to China. I think we're the first company in history that has been banned on both sides.
Jensen Huang is not backing down, not slowing down, and definitely not giving anyone in Silicon Valley a moment to breathe. For months, Nvidia has dominated the AI race like a storm. Record-breaking profits, market-shaking product launches, and a hardware roadmap so aggressive it made even trillion-dollar companies look nervous. But today, everything just shifted again, because Google and AWS have finally responded with their hardest, most advanced AI chips yet. And the message is clear. They're not letting Nvidia run away with the future without a fight. This isn't just a chip war anymore. This is a war for total AI dominance. Who trains the future models? Who powers the biggest companies? Who decides the direction of the next decade of technology? And surprisingly, for the first time in a long time, Jensen Huang actually has real competition knocking on his door. What's happening right now in the AI chip world looks like something straight out of a high-stakes sci-fi arms race. Every company knows that whoever controls compute controls the future. Nvidia has been the king of that world. H100s, H200s, B100s, the Rubin platform, the most in-demand GPU lineup in history. But Google and AWS are now throwing everything they have into the game. And they're doing it at the same time, almost as if they coordinated a double strike. Google is ramping up its TPU v5 lineup and unveiling next-generation AI accelerators built specifically to break Nvidia's hold on the market. Meanwhile, AWS just rolled out its most powerful Trainium and Inferentia chips so far. Chips designed not just to compete with Nvidia, but to bypass them entirely by offering AI supercomputer-level performance inside Amazon's own cloud ecosystem. For Jensen Huang, this moment is critical. Because what made Nvidia dangerous wasn't just the power of its chips, it was the ecosystem. CUDA, software lock-in, a decade of developer loyalty, quiet partnerships, enormous supply chain control. He built something no one could easily replace. But now, Google and AWS are each building ecosystems of their own. Google is pushing its TPU architecture deeper into Gemini training and internal LLM development. AWS is building a full end-to-end AI infrastructure stack around its custom silicon. And if those ecosystems grow enough, Nvidia could face the very thing it has avoided for years: displacement. But Jensen Huang isn't backing down because this pressure is exactly the kind of battle he thrives on. Every time a competitor steps forward, Nvidia releases something even more powerful. Every time someone tries to break free from CUDA, Nvidia adds new layers of optimization that make developers stay. The company is moving faster than ever. New releases every year, sometimes every few months, almost as if they're daring their competitors to keep up. Jensen knows what's coming, and that's why Nvidia has been accelerating product launches at a speed no one in the chip world thought was even possible.
And so the world's been moving to accelerated computing for some time. We've been pushing this now for over 20 years. Let me give you one statistic. I was just at supercomputing. 6 years ago, CPUs were 90% of the world's supercomputers, top 500 supercomputers. 6 years ago. Here, less than 15%.
Tech CEO that's been all over the place recently is Nvidia CEO, chipmaker-in-chief Jensen Huang. He was in Washington this week trying to reset the China narrative with lawmakers and the press. Let his chips into China or risk China replacing them. It'll be too late. Jensen admits he has no idea whether China would even accept Nvidia's H200 chips if the U.S. loosened restrictions.
Went from 90% to 10%, and meanwhile, accelerated computing went from the other way, 10% to now 90%. You're seeing that inflection point, the transition in high-performance computing from general-purpose computing to accelerated computing.
So the real question now is how Nvidia replaces that demand. Where does Jensen globetrot next? He's already been to China at least 3 times this year. It's a major market for deals and a bet on sovereign AI to fill the gap. Or maybe the U.S. hyperscalers will keep upping CapEx None of that, though, is guaranteed.
Well, one of the most intensive computation things that the world does in cloud is data processing. Several $100 billion.
The more China accelerates domestically, the more Nvidia's global dominance gets tested. By the way, don't forget the TPU narrative. Google's custom chips are scaling.
Of computation is done on just raw data processing. It has nothing to do with AI. Just SQL processing, data frames, everybody's names, address.
And Nvidia may ultimately get squeezed on both sides. This to a different kind of travel itinerary. Replit CEO Amjad Masad calling in from the back of an Uber in Dubai to announce a multi-year partnership with Google.
Their sex, their age, where they live, how much money they make. All of that sits into a data frame, and that data frame drives the world today, whether it's in banking or whether it's in credit cards or, of course, e-commerce and everything from ad recommendation. And everything is driven off of that data frame.
Vibe coding darling Replit, last valued at $3 billion. It's one more way that Google can give its cloud customers access to the product layer. Google has its own AI coding tools, but they aren't the starting point for most people building with AI. Replit arguably has the broadest funnel in vibe coding.
That data frame costs hundreds of billions of dollars to go compute. And so that's the number one thing, end of Moore's law. The second thing is generative AI. The most important application of the last 15 years is called REXs, recommender systems. How do we know what information to recommend to us?
The place where non-technical teams, they go to build, who are increasingly the ones that are driving AI adoption inside big companies. Think marketing or finance staff.
In a social feed, how do you know what ad to recommend to somebody, what book to recommend, what movie to recommend? The internet is so gigantic.
Trying to spin up internal AI tools all on their own. That brings me to my conversation today with Matt Renner, president of Google Cloud, and Amjad Masad, Replit's CEO.
Without a recommender system, that little tiny phone of us will have no chance of ever seeing the right information. That REXs is the engine of the internet today.
Is really Google's momentum. Gemini 3, TPU custom chips, this industry-wide question as to whether Google has finally flipped the psychology in AI.
It's going generative AI. It used to be running on CPUs, now it runs on GPUs. Which then says the third thing, if you just look at those two applications, many of the internet companies can build an enormous number of GPU supercomputers. Of course, then it creates the third opportunity on top of it, which is agentic AI. This is Grok, and this is OpenAI, this is Anthropic, this is Gemini.
A momentum, right? A lot of customer momentum at this point. Without question, AI has been an incredible few years here as the generative AI momentum has hit the industry.
Agentic AI sits on top of that. But don't forget to think about what is happening underneath what everybody sees as AI today. There's a whole movement of computing from general purpose computing to accelerated computing.
We're in a unique position coming into this period in that we'd already gotten to scale. So we had global support. We could handle customers in all countries.
If you take that into consideration, you'll come to the conclusion that in fact, what is left over to fuel that revolutionary agentic AI is not only substantially less than you thought, and all of it justified.
We felt pretty good about it, but again, we were third in market share at the time. AI has kind of reset the hyperscaler discussion. We have customers that have come forward that are now making decisions based on an AI partner. Why we are uniquely positioned in AI, actually offering we're in a category of one. And when I say that, I'm referring to the fact that we've got a full stack of first-party solutions, chips, all the way up through our data tools and our platforms in AI, to our models that we produce ourselves. And we couple that with being open. So we also can support up to 200 different models in our model garden. And we're very flexible to work with everything from other chips, other platforms. So we really do present kind of the best of both worlds, both a first party set of solutions, which are well received, but also the openness to use both. Momentum internally with customers, which have led us to be the fastest growing hyperscaler for the last 7 quarters. And AI has been a huge part of that. Not out there. I think the numbers don't lie when you look at full cloud growth. So we feel very good about how we're doing against the competitors. We do feel like AI has been kind of a refresh or a reset, as I mentioned earlier. So we do feel good about that. And we expect and hope to continue to grow faster than competitors. Back to, we've got solutions for you that are in AI, that are our first party, but we also will provide the openness to leverage other solutions that you may have a previous investment. The strategy has definitely taken hold. We think it's differentiated because we have both, and we're seeing good momentum on the growth.
So Replit's vision has always been to make coding more accessible. It's been about what people call vibe coding now. We've been talking about it for over 10 years now.
Still, Google brought fire this time. Its TPU v5 lineup is rumored to be significantly more efficient than previous versions, delivering performance levels across training and inference that threaten to finally close the gap with Nvidia. Google is aggressively shifting its own AI workloads off Nvidia hardware and onto its proprietary chips. And here's where the real threat begins. If Google proves these chips are truly competitive, it won't just keep them for itself. It will offer them to the world through Google Cloud. At pricing Nvidia absolutely cannot control. That's how you break a monopoly, not by making a better chip, but by making a better ecosystem that's cheaper, faster, and tightly integrated from top to bottom. AWS, on the other hand, is taking a different approach. They know enterprises, they know businesses, they know the global cloud market like the back of their hand. And their new Trainium and Inferentia chips are specifically engineered for scalability. They're cheap, efficient, and extremely powerful when deployed at massive scale. And that's where AWS is dangerous. They don't need the absolute fastest chip. They just need millions of chips deployed across thousands of businesses that would otherwise be renting Nvidia GPUs at premium rates. Amazon is not trying to out-Nvidia Nvidia. Amazon is trying to lock companies into the AWS ecosystem permanently, using custom silicon as the bait. If you zoom out, you can see the battlefield clearly. Three giants approaching the same goal, but using completely different strategies. Google is betting on superior architecture and vertically integrated AI development. AWS is betting on scale, cost control, and enterprise dominance. Nvidia is betting on performance, innovation speed, and the sheer momentum of an ecosystem that feels impossible to abandon. This is not a competition that ends in 6 months. This is a marathon. But the pace right now feels like a sprint, because all three companies know that the next 2 years will define the entire direction of AI for the next 2 decades. The real question is, how does the world react? AI labs, startups, Fortune 500 companies, even governments are all watching this fight play out because their future depends on it. If Google really delivers a TPU platform that beats Nvidia in cost and performance, we might see companies shifting entire workloads off GPUs. If AWS proves that its Trainium 2 chips can train LLMs at massive scale without needing Nvidia's hardware, then Nvidia's dominance begins to fracture. And if Nvidia keeps delivering new GPUs that break performance records every quarter, the entire industry might decide it's too risky to move away from the current king. What makes this moment even more dramatic is that all of this is happening while the demand for compute is exploding. AI models are doubling in size, tripling in complexity, and requiring more compute per training run than ever before. A single training run for next-gen LLMs is costing hundreds of millions of dollars. So whoever provides the most efficient hardware is going to become the backbone of the world's AI infrastructure. And Jensen Huang knows that if Nvidia loses that position, even slightly, there might not be a path to recovery. That's why he's pushing so hard, pushing so fast, pushing so aggressively that it feels like Nvidia is dragging the entire industry forward by force.
Which is, more people would want to make software, and AI really showed the world that that's possible. And so for us to achieve this tremendous vision, huge bet on Google Cloud. I mean, we started using Google Cloud in 2018 when we were still a tiny startup with like 5 or 6 people. We were in their startup program. It paid off. I mean, I think maybe it was, for us, even a bit of a risky bet because Google Cloud was the newer player at the time, but Google Cloud has been moving really fast, and they have really every cloud solution under the sun. And so Replit is really the most complete vibe coding platform.
Like, Replit has sort of the broadest funnel, right? Beginners can use it, non-technical teams. Amjad, I know we've talked a lot about how I've got my 10-year-old trying to vibe code on Replit specifically, because something that Matt said, he said that, there's optionality, but that's what AWS pitches. That's increasingly what Azure pitches as well. What about Google?
The OG AI chatbot creator starting to worry that it's losing its lead in the AI arms race. Just unveiled a whole slew of new AI tools at its reInvent conference. that has taken over just about every venue in Las Vegas.
A few things. One is Gemini, and the set of Gemini models are amazing models. Like they span the entire gambit of really small model, like Gemini Flashlight is an amazing model. It's like, you know, people talk about AI too cheap to
Vegas today. One of those tools includes 3 new frontier agents that will revolutionize how customers can build, secure, and operate software.
It's like Flashlight is a workhorse. Like we use it for code-based search. We use it for so many things. Gemini 3 has amazing design.
It also unveiled its new Trainium chips. Joining me now to break down all of these, the U.S. reInvent conference in Las Vegas is the top guy himself, Amazon Web Services CEO Matt Garman. I want to ask you about blowing up these legacy old tech servers. We can show people the video, but that was hilarious. You dynamited this gigantic piece of old equipment. Why?
It's fun. It's an ode to all of our customers who are really focused on getting out from their legacy systems. There's a bunch of people who are working hard to get off of Windows, to get off of VMware, and we've built a bunch of AI agents to help them with that. It's an ode to that.
Capabilities and amazing reasoning capabilities, we use it for that. So that's one. Google as an AI company and Gemini set of models.
And we see massive sets of customers all around the world getting off of those legacy technologies and moving to the cloud. And this was kind of a fun way to show that.
Yeah.
Are very important for us to produce this diverse set of use cases and users. And on the more traditional cloud stuff, I think Google has tremendous taste when it comes to designing these primitives, for example.
It was, but written on the actual server was the term tech debt. A lot of people are worried about actual debt right now. That's not what you meant. Describe what you say is tech debt and what you have unveiled to actually eliminate that.
Tech debt is this, there's many companies out there where most of their costs and most of their resources go to supporting their old legacy technologies.
For example, Google Cloud Run is an amazing container runtime solution that allows us to package anything that anyone makes in any language and ship it over to Google, and Google can run it, spin it up, scale down to 0.
And they're unable to take advantage of many of the new technologies from AI and other things. And so as companies can get off of those technologies and move to the cloud, they get much more agile and they can focus on new technologies and delivering value to their customers. And the cloud is really an unlock in that.
It becomes very cheap to run for small applications. It's very affordable. We charge $1 per hosted project, but you can scale.
And so this tech debt, though, is there's still tons of customers who have these on-prem environments or they're stuck to these legacy technologies, whether it's Oracle or Windows.
All the way to the moon, and we have companies on their way to millions of run rates running entirely on our Google Cloud-based solution.
Or other things like that. And so this tech debt is a real drag on what a lot of people spend their money on today. And AI is helping us.
So that's an interesting point. It's not just about like the single model that is ahead in all the benchmarks right now, but a family of different models. Before we get into more specific
with AWS Transform to help get those customers off of those legacy platforms and help them get to more modern environments.
Ask because Oracle has NetSuite, which a lot of corporations use. It is old. It's still working, though. Some of that, and maybe IBM has old technology as well. And I would think that an Accenture, which helps companies merge to new things, should.
Of the deal, I just want to ask you, Amjad, as well, who's using Replit within the enterprise? Like, what kinds of teams? Are there technical, non-technical?
Perhaps be threatened by what AWS is unveiling here.
Actually, and our partners at folks like Accenture love this technology. It's in fact meant to be a technology that they can use to help companies get off of.
Yeah.
Both? And how sticky is that?
There are two primary use cases. One is for product development lifecycle.
Oracle databases to get off of things like NetSuite, to get off of things like Windows. Companies really desperately want to get off of these and move to new technologies, do that faster because it means that they can help more customers. And so they're actually big users of these AI agents that we build, and we partner deeply with them.
Google and AWS stepping into the arena at full strength has completely changed the landscape. This is no longer a one-company race. This is a three-way collision course. Jensen Huang is not backing down because he can't back down. The moment he slows even a little, someone else takes the lead. Google and AWS are not backing down because they know this is their only chance to stop Nvidia from becoming too powerful to challenge. And somewhere in the middle of this fight, every tech company, every startup, every AI researcher is waiting to see who will emerge as the undisputed leader of the next generation of AI. Right now, Nvidia is still ahead. But for the first time in years, the gap is no longer guaranteed. Google is pushing harder, AWS is scaling faster, and the competition is beginning to look like a real threat, not just to Nvidia's market share, but to its entire vision of a GPU-driven AI future. What comes next could reshape the industry. The chip war is intensifying, the stakes are rising, and Jensen Huang is standing in the center of it all, refusing to step back, refusing to slow down, and refusing to let Nvidia lose the throne without the fight of a lifetime.